Researchers at Stanford Medicine right now are currently working towards finding out whether or not Californians have antibodies in our system.
I knew it.
No. What the fuck does Stanford know?
What's an antibody?
So they're saying, so like if you've had something in the past and you recovered, then you have created antibodies in your system, which means they have fought it in the past.
So like if you dated a fat chick, you know how you don't want to date another fat chick anymore?
Get antibodies to fat chicks. Got it.
But what if you do because you get addicted to the cushion?
Oh, then you need new antibodies. Well, some people catch the Rona twice too.
Oh, that's true.
All right, well, anyway. So they're saying that they believe that Californians, so compared to the rest of the country, especially like more severe states like in New York, California should be that bad too because of the fact that a lot of people, there were direct flights from Wuhan directly to California, like LAX and San Francisco. So our state should be in a lot worse state than it is now. So they're believing that in the fall, you remember when everyone got sick? They're thinking that that's when we might have gotten coronavirus.
Is that Stanford's subtle way of also calling it the China virus? Wuhan to LAX or no?
Dude, you know what's
Pretty
crazy?
factual though. It is from China.
That's the so you know how I was out in Vietnam in November, right? People were already talking about like some kind of illness that was going on. And then my buddy, so this is why the rich stay rich too, because my buddy knows like a lot of people that own factories out in Vietnam and whatever. One family, they remember SARS. They saw the signs. They bought a mask machine, and they started producing. Yeah, well, they started producing medical stuff.
Because they were anticipating it already.
They were anticipating it.
I feel like the same end, people were like
They made,
selling
like,
their
a-
stocks and stuff, and like they knew their stuff was coming.
Yeah.
And just trying to like make money.
Yeah.
So they started producing this stuff out in December immediately.
Wait. So this family that doesn't make medical supplies started making medical supplies.
Well, they already had capability, like they had a factory.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
So it was like so they started just one little machine that just builds it, and then they had a stockpile about 1 million masks.
Were you just thinking like one tiny little apartment and there's like 10 machines making a bunch of shit?
Like a normal rich guy, like a rich guy that just has like a big house, and I'm like, how does he mass
Hat
produce?
factory. They're like, we're not gonna make rice hats no more.
You take the same materials and you have a rice hat.
That'd be tight.
A rice hat and a mask.
Be really firm.
That's some crazy shit though, right? And I'm like, that's why rich people stay rich, man. They just know what to, I don't know. But then Asia's already had like, you know, SARS and swine flu and all that stuff. So I think they were used to that kind of.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, the comparison between here and New York, right? Like, we have densely populated cities, but this is like the state of everybody having their own car, right? More than any other state, California, everyone drives in their own car. So it's like, you can't spread it as easily compared to New York. Even celebrities take the subway. You know, everybody's touching the same objects. And then anyone who's ever been in a New York subway, like, it's not clean that often anyways, it's stinky, you know? So like, I wonder how much of it is not only, you know, us getting it early, but also public transportation. Because our public transportation
I feel like I
sucks.
get like dengue fever just sitting in the seats in New York subways.
Everything smells like piss.
What's nastier, a New York subway or a McDonald's ball pit?
New York subway.
Because that thing doesn't smell
I feel
good
like I have immunity because I played in the ball pit so much.
You never get sick, huh?
I never get sick.
You remember as a kid, you'd be crawling through the tunnels and all of a sudden you see a pool of pee?
No.
I felt like I saw that all the time.
What McDonald's did you go
Oh
to?
yeah, I've seen that.
Every so often you're like, oh, and then it'd be kind of yellow.
Yeah, I've seen that stuff too.
Like some kid freaked out and he was like, I'm out of here.
I never liked going through those tubes because there's so much static in there, and I hated static. And you just go in there. I'm like, oh, fuck this place. Fuck you.
Damn, you're an angry child.
Oh, what?
I kind of like the static because I used to play with it with my hair. I'd be like,
Really?
oh, look, it's standing.
The ones that pop though, that shit hurts.
You get shocked during the slide?
Yeah, because like there's like I don't know about now, but like I remember back in the day, like they would have those metal nails exposed.
Oh yeah, no, I have.
Yeah.
Because I play with the slide with Taika down the tube. I'm getting zapped like every day.
Right?
What the fuck? You fit in it?
I mean, he wants me to climb up.
Oh my God.
Mad if I don't climb in with
Those
them.
poor tubes.
Well, I mean, this kid's bigger than Bart. They have to make it fit. So
There's some big
Yeah.
kids now.
The hypothesis is that COVID first started spreading in California in the fall of 2019 because they were saying that there were about 8,000 Chinese nationals daily into our airports.
Like 2 million something a year, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then not just that, but then they'll come through other states or other countries too. So like, it's just a high probability that it was here long before we knew that it was.
Our numbers are really low considering that we have like 40 million residents here.
Yeah, there have been
They're crazy low.
374 fatalities in a state of 40 million people.
370 is super low.
what was it before then? Because like before, shouldn't have like the deaths been like way higher? Like if we did get it earlier.
Well, the idea of the curve is that when hospitals are overwhelmed is when people die. It's not necessarily
Yeah.
because a lot of people have it. So if like a hospital can't take in more people and they don't have enough ventilators, that's how people end up dying.
You know what's crazy too? I was reading that they are counting deaths, like in the US, they're counting people who have died from other things, but if they have the
Ronas?
the Ronas, then that means they are being counted as a Rona death.
Yeah, I hear it depends on the
Like, let's say
hospital.
They died from a heart attack, but they have it.
They were positive,
If they're positive, then that means they are being.
counted.
'Cause, it actually causes heart attacks too.
But it's the sad part of statistics where like you could have COVID-19, you don't even know, you're just a carrier, and like let's say you freaking crash your car. If they want to push numbers in that direction, instead of saying like drunk driving, they'll just go, oh, this was a corona
That's
death.
what they did for weed. They're saying, oh, because the spike in like weed is legal now, so many people are dying. But they would have like such small amounts of weed, and they'll be completely drunk.
So what you're saying is that weed is causing the
But then
Rona.
they'll say, no, yeah, weed is causing.
Just like 5G is.
Oh, that's a whole nother article.
Oh, we're gonna have an article
We're gonna
on
have a
that.
video
Yeah.
about that.
You know so I don't believe China numbers, Iran numbers, or many.
yeah.
I don't believe our American numbers. So when people are quoting these numbers as if like all these hospitals and everyone's doing the right thing by recording the right numbers, I think we're probably doing the best job of recording as many numbers as
Then
possible.
a lot of people aren't even getting tested because
That's another thing,
there's
too.
not enough tests. So then
Tell people to stay home if they do feel sick, because it's gonna pass for like people that aren't like in a critical state. But then also if you do, I forgot how you say it, asymptomatic.
Asymptomatic.
Yeah.
They don't count that as that unless you show like crazy symptoms.
But that's also why the people are saying South Korea has such low percentage of death rates. It's because they test more people, and the actual people who die compared to the total number of people who are tested is so much smaller. So it's not necessarily that people are getting it less. It's just that way more people are being tested.
Because in South Korea, what they're saying was why they're doing good. Obviously, like social distancing is helping.
High
a
test
lot.
rates.
But they found the people that have it the most were actually 20 to 29 year olds, and they're the ones that are passing it. So if you looked at the numbers in terms, because they tested broad around every age.
Yeah.
And the hugest spike was people like our age.
So the phrase "boomer remover" is not even.
well, they're not the ones dying.
We're
from
not
it.
dying as
They're
much.
the ones that are getting it.
So the 20 to 29 are the carriers, and then the people that are dying are the older people.
It's exactly like those kids in Florida that were like still partying, and they're like, I don't care about getting it, but it's like it's not about you. You probably will survive, even though there are young people that are getting injured from it. But it's you just passing around. And being
Yeah, and that's the bigger problem.
I saw a comparison of the difference between the flu and the difference between the COVID, right? So the flu is you become contagious and you're carrying it maybe within a day, and then you start finding symptoms within a day or two. And then so you go, oh, I'm sick, like I have a fever, I have whatever, like, so watch out, right? But with this one, the reason why it's so dangerous is that whole reason for the 2-week period is because during that time, you can be carrying, you can be spreading, but you don't even know.
I saw that the regular flu, it spreads to 1.3 people, and this one spreads to like 5.7 or something.
Is that 5 now?
Yeah.
So wouldn't we have all gotten it back then? Like if
That's what I'm thinking. And the thing is, the symptoms are completely different because, like, there's someone I know, well, a friend of a friend who's been tested positive because when we were out in Europe, my friend's childhood friend was coming back from Italy. And everyone that was coming back from Italy mandatory had to be tested. And the only symptom that she had was diarrhea. and then they quarantined her at her house. Like cops were literally going to her house every single day. Like you better be at home. Yeah, and if you don't have, but if you feel like you have the Ronas, but if you don't have a fever, they don't test you because test kits were low. They just tell you to stay home. Yeah. So a lot of people
temperature too.
Yeah, a lot of people are confirmed, but or they probably have it, but they're not being confirmed.
Yeah. So back to this whole thing with Stanford Medicine, they have tested 3,200 people at 3 Bay Area locations, and they're using an antibody test for this specific thing. And so they're saying that in a few weeks they're gonna get results back and see if, like, how many people have antibodies in their system, and then that can really conclude whether or not it has been in California.
And if we have herd immunity or not.
Herd immunity, that's the key term, yeah.
I hope we do. That'd be so cool. Because if we do, and it's able to be proven in like a public health statistic, then maybe we can get out of the quarantine earlier. Because we're like, oh, Californians, they're just better than everyone else.
Oh God.
I like what we've been doing though. Like our mayor's like staying on point, like making sure that like we stay quarantined.
Yeah.
Like other places are like they're just getting into it now.
I think we should explain, just in case you guys haven't seen the video explaining why we're here today, just a quick brief thing. How come we're here today?
So we've actually taken a lot of precaution to come back and film, and there's a lot of reasons why we came back and film. So number one, the last time we shot was over 3 weeks ago, so we wanted to wait out the incubation period.
Almost a month,
and then we all properly socially distanced and we quarantined. And to keep this company alive, like not just the cast, but there's like an entire back-end system. We wanted to make sure there's still a flow of work for the editors, so there's like the whole survival for the company that we wanted to keep in mind. And also I've personally called the City of LA Mayor's office to double check to see if we're legal, and we are legally qualified to operate because we are considered a media outlet, which is really, really cool. And after this, we're gonna quarantine for another 2 weeks before we shoot the next time. And a lot of people want to see us on Zoom, which we will definitely do for sure. But in terms of the way we actually film, like our block filming style, when we shoot over 20 something videos, it's really hard to get that many quality Zoom videos out of it. So it's kind of almost a necessity for us to stay alive. We have to shoot this way, but we're taking every precaution possible. And that's why Steve and Nikki aren't here, because they're reporting symptoms, not of the COVID, but they're just sick in general. So we're trying to be extra careful with what we're doing.
Even people who had, like if they're living with a family member, or if they're living with a spouse that, work outside all the time or whatever, they're not here today. Yeah. So everyone here has been super duper quarantined.
Yeah. So thanks, guys.
Yeah.
The non-normal cast for being here.
Is that the only reason you guys invited me?
Yep.
I'm so rejected.